Viewers and subscribers, welcome back to Beat in the Press podcast. I am your host, Rafa. Now, coming up in this evening's podcast, we're going to be reviewing the big games which took place over the weekend. Arsenal continuing to keep pace with Man City at the top of the table, getting a big victory in that North London derby. And of course, another goal fest, you could say, a shootout over there at Aston Villa and Chelsea. Now, joining me this evening to review these matches and to talk some EPL football, we have returning to the podcast, Christophe.
Good to be back, viewers.
Yes, indeed. We also have returning Sir Cole.
Give thanks, blessings. Glad to be back.
Yes, indeed. Lots of big results, gents, but we're going to jump straight into it, Sir Cole. Talk to us, Chelsea, Aston Villa, that one ending in a draw.
Yeah, what to say, very tight game, lots of goal mouth action. Chelsea, I think, should probably feel a bit, agree with it, could have walked away with 3 points from that one. See Jackson getting on the, getting a few chances, not really putting them away. But in the end, a draw is for the neutrals, a very entertaining result.
Indeed, and definitely Aston Villa, while dropping some points, still maintaining their status in the top four. And with Spurs losing to Arsenal, it's hard to see Aston Villa really giving up that top four position. What says you, Christoph? How did you see that one? That game ending 2-2, Chelsea versus Aston Villa, another big London clash.
It's a very interesting game. We had anticipated Aston Villa winning. It was a bit of a shock. Chelsea putting up what I think was a very good fight, better than we've seen them do recently, and definitely better than they did against Arsenal. Um, we could say they're a bit lucky, but they could also feel a bit hard done. But the result is what it is. There are still a number of games left for Aston Villa and for Tottenham to try and secure that top four spot. 3 games left for Tottenham, 3 games left for Aston Villa. One of those games for Tottenham do include Manchester City, which could be a title deciding game. So there's much to be done on that part.
Indeed, indeed. But again, the return of Cole Palmer, Sir Cole, and we see a renewed vigor in this Chelsea team. I mean, he seemed to be the catalyst. He's been bringing this team all season, it would appear, and he was absent from that game versus Arsenal. And of course, when he came back in this one versus Aston Villa, I mean, Chelsea seemed to find another gear and managed to hold out for a draw. I mean, Sir Cole, would you say Palmer is the signing of the season at this point in time?
At this point in time, yes.
Three
And I
games to
mean,
go.
with 3 games to go, yes, man. It definitely has been. I can't think of another player who has come in and had the impact that he has had on a particular team. As a new player, especially as well as a young player, he has done outstandingly well. I don't know if Pep, may have looked back and say, well, boy, he made an error in hindsight, but he certainly has taken his chance with 2 hands, and his future looks bright in the league.
So an automatic selection for the Euros then, Sir Cole. I mean, he must be on that plane to Germany, England squad.
For my money, yes.
So who get left out as a result of Palmer getting in?
No,
Sterling.
I
Sterling.
can't say who, but right now he does command that spot on that team roster, I think.
Indeed, yeah. I mean, it's definitely hard to see him not getting in. Similar sentiment I would echo from Watkins, in my opinion. For me, Watkins is my player of the season. Up there with the top goal scorers, possibly vying for that golden boot. Haaland came off the bench over the weekend and managed to get one, which pushed him slightly ahead of Cole Palmer and Watkins. So two of the league's top goal scorers were really in action. And the difference between the two, I would say, is that Palmer takes a lot of penalties and get a number of his goals from the spot, Watkins, on the other hand, all of his 19 goals have come from open play, Sir Cole. This must be a massive achievement for a player of Watkins' caliber. Could he potentially displace Kane from the starting 11?
No, I don't really see that happening at all. He be the sub or come on and join Kane, but he won't displace Kane. Kane for his
Indeed,
position
indeed.
on the field and the position in terms of a senior player, team captain. You don't replace such players like that.
Definitely, definitely, for sure. But he's definitely having a tremendous season, in
That
all
is.
honesty. But Christoph, I mean, the season is almost over. What of this Chelsea team? I mean, what changes are required for you to see them elevate themselves come next season? I mean, this season is pretty much finished, over and done. Much of their games are, you could classify as dead rubber. They can't be relegated. It's hard to see them getting into any real good European positions either. What's the solution going forward for this Chelsea team?
I would say the first thing to do, somehow, is to probably clear out the deadwood out of the team. Get rid of all those players who have underperformed and have not lived up to the hype. Not that some of these players cannot potentially be rejuvenated, maybe under a new manager, under a new system. There are just some players that don't waste 2, 3 seasons on them. Just ship them out from now
So who are
and
some of
rebuild.
these players you're referring to though, Christoph? Call some names. I mean,
Mhm.
you
I
can't
mean,
just be throwing out, call some names, get specific. Who
uh,
goes, who stays?
I would get rid of Jackson, Sterling, Modric, um, Luca maybe. There are a number of players on there that are just not performing well enough. And the mere fact that Chelsea plays on a different level with Cole Palmer tells me that the players are just not good enough in the squad. Maybe it's the system. I am not 100% certain. Could be the system, could be the coach, but just this one player. I'm not saying you don't have like some players who are just on another level from everybody else, but to elevate Chelsea to actually look like they are decent this season, you know, the squad needs a complete overhaul, complete rebuild for me.
I
From the
mean,
back,
the
from the back
squad was
forward.
just overhauled.
Yeah, but there, as we talked about last week, ever since from it's going back a number of years since the original appointment of Lampard,
Right.
Chelsea had a transfer ban, and then the transfer ban was lifted, and then Lampard was free to go and recruit the players he wanted. Ever since then, Chelsea has been recruiting players that have not performed for them or do not fit a system or just haven't done. They've been overspending and getting players who do not live up to. Not, I'm not going to say they don't live up to the price tag, because really and truly, price doesn't matter in the modern game. People will pay whatever it is to get whatever player they want. So these players have not returned any value for the most part, and Chelsea probably need to look inward and say, hey, are we going to just decide that we want to just win trophies and whichever manager come in will just go and work with whatever system they want to work with? Or are we going to say, hey, Chelsea Football Club plays attacking football in X manner, and then go out and get a coach that does this? That's where Chelsea needs to start.
So you're saying Pochettino out?
I'm not necessarily saying Pochettino out.
Hmm.
I'm saying pick decide what you're going to do first. Are you a team that plays attacking football, counter attacking football? Or
But I
are you a
mean,
team that,
appointing Pochettino, wouldn't that philosophy or his philosophy be known as part of
right?
the interview process? So, uh,
Which is why I'm saying Chelsea has gone through a number of managers, and none of these managers have had a consistent style. You wouldn't say that Chelsea is a team who plays, attacking possession based football or counter attacking football. They play whatever the manager plays. That is it. Versus you
oh, so
look
you're
at
saying the club itself doesn't have a footballing philosophy. It's more the style or the philosophy that whichever manager comes in takes with him, so
right,
to speak.
So Chelsea needs
Yeah, but I
to.
mean, that seemed to have been the model of Chelsea in all honesty. That has been the case over the period. I mean, ever since the Mourinho era. So I
Right.
don't think this is anything new to Chelsea. I mean, when Mourinho was there, they played the Mourinho style. Ancelotti came in, similar thing. Even Rafa, when Rafa was there, still winning trophies, was playing more of a Rafa style, you know? So it's nothing new to Chelsea. I just think they take on the philosophy of whichever manager is hired. Same thing with Tuchel. So I don't think Chelsea is a club which has a club philosophy per se. I think it's just whichever manager is in charge bring his style of play. I mean, even when Conte won that league, we saw where Conte started with a back four and then switched it up versus Arsenal, I believe. They had suffered some sort of big defeat and he went to a back three and the rest is history. Winning the league, wrapping up the league, taking on and playing a Conte style. So I don't think this is anything new for Chelsea, in all honesty. To me, it's just a matter of time. Maybe Pochettino just need time, as you say, get rid of some players, bring in some better players, hopefully, and you may see a return to fortunes. What says you, though, Sir Cole? I mean, what's the solution for Chelsea?
If you hire the coach, then the coach should be allowed to do his job, as you correctly pointed out when interviewing. If it's a key point to you as a club that you need a manager with X characteristics, then you find such a manager. The fact that you already hired the manager means you trust his way of doing things, his methodology to get things done. So, I mean, yeah, you hire the manager, allow the manager to do his job how he sees fit, whether it's
So,
attacking, whether
so,
it's
so just
some
time then, Sir
positions,
Cole. Pochettino just needs time, in your opinion.
yeah, I think the modern day fan is very trigger happy with the old manners and pitchforks and torches and things. You lose two games and the
Oh,
body's
calling for your head.
on your head. I mean, yeah, we need to exercise a bit more patience in the modern game. Mind you, in the past probably it was so just that know that because of communication person can now express themselves and are heard across a wider audience as opposed to just in their backyard or in the local pub.
Indeed. I mean, Chelsea is definitely one of those clubs that is not afraid to really pull the trigger when it comes to hiring and sackings, in all honesty. So, the jury is out. I guess we have to wait and see what pans out in the summer, what shakes out. But definitely a disappointing season for Chelsea with all their spendings and, the crop of players they've brought in. It has really been a downturn in fortunes and this season is no different. Back to the drawing board, so to speak. But I mean, what can
Well,
be said of Aston Villa, Sir Cole?
well just to touch a bit again on Chelsea in that the players and the coaches are what we see on our TV. Many times the problem is what we don't see. So I think to give a better opinion, you really need to conduct a better analysis of Chelsea as a whole structure as opposed to just what we see on TV. Because we really don't know what takes place behind the scenes. We see Chelsea losing and we may say this player isn't playing well, the player isn't playing well, the coach's tactics X, Y, Z. But we really need to conduct a more in-depth look at the picture before we can draw a sensible conclusion as to what the matter, what the cause may really be.
Indeed, a deep dive forensic investigation may
Yes,
very
sir.
well be needed in order to unearth the true genesis of this Chelsea downfall. But downfall, it definitely is. We haven't seen Chelsea this low in the table in a number of years. Things have really changed ever since the sale of the club, pretty much post Abramovich era, and it's hard to see where they go from here next. But I must say, credit to Aston Villa, Sir Cole. They did get a draw in this one. They still maintaining their status in the top four. And I would say, I mean, you called it earlier in the season. Aston Villa, the surprise package of the season, I would say. I mean, tell us, Sir Cole, what did you see in this team which led you to such an early call in them really rising to the occasion this time around?
Well, as I said, throughout the summer, I saw a number of Aston Villa practice games and I thought they were very exciting, very consistent. You saw the quality, you saw work definitely done on the training pitch being brought onto the field. They had an experienced manager, they have young, eager players. So based on that, based on how I assess them, how cohesive that they were, especially in attack. For me, they ticked all the boxes. Mind you, I probably they lack a bit of experience because we got some good results, especially in late November, December there. You just know to have been be able to kick on, but probably lack of squad depth may really have hurt them. But next season, I expect them to maintain. I don't think they will allow the level to drop from where it is currently.
Indeed, and I'm sure you've been keeping a close eye on Leon Bailey, Sir Cole. He has been one of the standout attacking players in the EPL, not only in the Aston Villa team, but when you check his statistics in terms of his goal contributions, he is right up there with the best of them, with the likes of a Saka, a Cole Palmer, a Foden. He is top quality, Sir Cole. What can you say of Leon Bailey?
Well, his performances have been very good. Mind you, we have seen him perform at this level before when he was in Germany, so it's really not anything new. He's just now playing it in the EPL, and I'm really happy that he is making a mark in the league. It speaks a lot for our local product here in Jamaica.
Indeed, indeed. And we have another Jamaican making a move over there at Chelsea. Whisper, I've been hearing he's been balling out in the under 21s and should soon make a first team debut, I would suspect. But we move, Sir Cole. Christophe, North London Derby is where all the attention and excitement was. Christophe, talk to us. Arsenal running away, or I should say, nail-biting finish, winning that one 3-2. Tell us about that game. Give us your take.
It's a very interesting game, but also the scoreline is kind of deceptive. Because really and truly, we saw where David Raya gifted Tottenham a goal, and then there was a very questionable penalty.
Oh, no, not at all. Clear penalty, Christophe. No
No,
questions at
not a
all.
clear penalty. Not a clear penalty.
Clear penalty. I mean,
Not a clear penalty.
Rice kicked away the ball a foot.
We have seen this exact challenge before in the season. It was reviewed by VAR and was not given by as penalty earlier this season, and it was to Arsenal. Gabriel Jesus, same situation. He was kicked down by a player clearing the ball.
Oh, which game was that?
I believe it was against Aston Villa, the first game.
Mm.
I would have to review, but yes, we have seen this challenge before.
Yeah, but two wrongs don't make a right. They may have gotten it wrong in that game, but for sure, this was as clear-cut a penalty as can be.
Giving that as a penalty sets a precedence because a player will simply step into the path of another player clearing a ball.
But players have been doing that all season. That's part of the game, putting yourself in harm's way in order to draw a foul, so to speak.
There's a difference between, a foul and somebody clearing the ball and somebody running in the way of the ball.
No, but that wasn't the case of Davis running in. Davis pinched the ball off Rice, and in kicking, rather than kicking the ball, Rice kicked the player. Clear-cut penalty, easy call.
No.
What says you there, those circle?
Not a penalty.
You saw it. Yeah. What's your call?
Penalties. Going by the player was kicked, so he was late in the challenge. Mind you, may have been goal threatening, but it's a foul in the box. The rules say penalty.
Easy call, Sir Cole. Easy call. I was quite surprised that the on-field referee did not call it himself, which is what I've been saying all season. It's the psychology of the referee that has now shifted, where on-field reps don't necessarily want to make a mistake, knowing in the back of their mind that if they don't make a call, then likely VAR will pick up on it and allow them to go to the monitor. So I'm not sure what's going on psychologically with these referees.
I was stated that review is probably the shortest review to have taken place all season.
Clear. It just goes to show how clear-cut it was.
Referee saw it once and that was it.
But that's what I'm saying. It's the psychology circle of these referees because they know VAR is there to bail them out. they are very reluctant to make the calls, knowing that their mistake will be corrected by VAR. So I think we might need to look into this in terms of the psychology of these referees going, especially into these high-profile games. Shocking, no call, but eventually VAR coming good and really getting this one right. But I mean,
Yeah,
Christoph, I
VAR,
mean, yeah,
VAR really didn't make the call, you know. VAR suggested the viewing by the referee.
which is right, which is
It was
right.
still the referee who made the
Technology
call.
working as it should, so to speak. Technology working
Indeed.
as it should. But I mean, Christoph, having gone 3-0 up, Arsenal nearly battled it, it seems.
No, Arsenal didn't battle it. Liverpool has battled it, but Arsenal have performed well first half. Second half, I would say we saw some cracks showing up, and it's something that Mikel Arteta needs to address for the remaining three fixtures to continue the title charge, I would say. But when you look at the game for the entire first half, Arsenal completely control Spurs, allowing them possession and allowing them to do
Well,
what
I'm not
Arsenal
sure if
wanted.
they allowed possession. I think that is just the Spurs way of playing and the Pochettino. In all honesty, I mean, Spurs totally dominated the possession statistics, Christoph. When
Arsenal,
you take a look at the final analysis.
yes, but possession doesn't win your games, does it? Arsenal allowed Spurs possession in
Mm.
order to counter attack and win set pieces, and we saw that to devastating effect. Did we not in the first half? And this is a
Indeed,
sip. This
indeed,
is
indeed. Some
this is
sizzling
how
set pieces were thrown into the box there from both teams, I must say. And if not for the Argentinian Romero really hitting the bar when he should have scored, it could have been a different game in all honesty. But definitely some devastating set piece from the dead ball specialists. Madison for Spurs, and we saw a few being whipped in by Saka. That first own goal was a Saka corner kick,
corner kick.
which seemed to have been planned, straight off the training ground, where Ben White seemed to be almost agitating the goalkeeper. I think the referees need to start taking a look at that. I think he might be getting a bit too physical with these goalkeeper and possibly compromising their position in terms of making a save. That is definitely some off the ball tactics which these referees might need to keep an eye on. But I mean, kudos to Arsenal, Sir Cole. They had a job to do. They went out and they got it done, you could say, pretty early. However, their backs were against the wall for the last 5 to 10 minutes. And Spurs were definitely pushing for an equalizer. But how did you see that game, Sir Cole? What's your views?
Of course, the most Arsenal can do is to control what they have control over. They've played their opponent, they got their 3 points. Mind you, probably with a bit more, their press a bit harder than they expected or that the Arsenal fans would have liked. But in the end, you got the result. So objective accomplished for my money. Mind you, as I said, the most that they can do is win their remaining games and hope that Man City slips up. So they went out, they got the win, move on next game.
Indeed, definitely. Job accomplished, points in the bag, and the pressure is still on Man City to win their game in hand and maintain their charge. Arsenal, of course, will be hoping for them to slip up or for one of the other teams to hold them to a draw or even take the full 3 points off them. But Christoph, I mean, you mentioned there are a few cracks in the Arsenal armor that you'd like to see fixed going forward. Elaborate more on that. I mean, give us an insight into what sort of changes Arteta is required to do.
For one, well, since David Raya will likely continue as a starting keeper, no issue. But there obviously needs to be a discussion with him about inviting pressure onto him, as he did, and we've seen where he's given away a number of goals this season, goalkeeping errors that have led directly to goal. We've also seen where he's gotten away with a few, but the defense should be, very upset. Arteta should be very upset for the manner in which that goal was given away, because it invited Tottenham pressure on them, which subsequently led to a second goal and could have potentially led to a third. But luckily, Arsenal had that extra goal cushion, which kind of won them the game. The second thing is later in games, we do see where the defense tends to, I would say, fall asleep. They drop their concentration for a bit. And then we end up having maybe a goal scored. We've seen where they've gotten away with it a lot in the last 4 or 5 games. They did not get away with it against Aston Villa. They were punished for defensive, lapses, I would say. What we somewhat got away with it against Tottenham, but that's something that also needs to be addressed for the defense. The second thing is for these bigger games, we've seen where Arsenal has been content to allow the opposition to control possession, because possession without scoring goals is
Again,
irrelevant.
I am not sure if Arsenal allowed Spurs to control position, Christoph. It's Spurs way of
Go
playing,
back
and
and look.
definitely the first goal, that first goal which Raya gave away, was due to the high press. Remember, it's Romero which scored that goal, Christoph. That's
Yes.
how high your centre back is pressing. So it is the hand style, it is the Pochettino philosophy which pushed Arsenal back and not allow them to dictate and dominate possession. Spurs were playing at home. They wanted to high press Arsenal, and they were the team. When you look back at the statistics, they totally dominated the ball in terms of the possession statistics. I believe the last figures show where Spurs may have had 70% of the possession to Arsenal's 30. So I wouldn't say Arsenal allowed them possession. I thought it was the high press of the Spurs team which led to Arsenal not maintaining their possession, and subsequently, of course, Spurs maintained theirs. But at the same time, the standing of the game, having gone 3 goals up early, I mean, at that point in time, there was no need for you to really be attacking full throttle, but rather to a bit sit back in your defense and allow the opponent to take the game to you while playing on the counter, which is what led to that second goal by Saka, in all honesty. I mean, that to me was the controversial no penalty call and not necessarily the Rice call. So, I thought Arsenal got away with that one, an error by the referee, which led directly to a goal at the other end. And at that point in time, Sir Cole, if VAR was to have called that back, it would have set the cat amongst the pigeons, having chalked off an Arsenal goal and given a penalty to Spurs.
Yeah, but I've seen that
Riot
before.
would be in the stands.
No, I've seen that before. Not in EPL, but in the Italian league.
These
I've seen
EPL
that.
referees don't have the cojones, Sir Cole, to make those sort of
No, no,
calls. In a North London
I've seen it
derby,
where
it would
a
have been
goal,
pandemonium in the
a
stands.
goal was scored. A goal was scored, and the goal score was chalked off after review, and a penalty given at the other end.
I would love to see that in the
Yeah, man.
EPL and see
I've
what
seen it.
reaction, the Metropolitan Police guards would have to be called in, because I'm sure they would be rioting the stands,
In
especially in a derby of this nature.
in situations like that, I don't think the goal should be chalked off. I think you just give the penalty same way. The goal has been scored.
Well,
Go ahead
I
and,
don't believe the rules
go ahead
support
and
that
give
view.
go ahead and give the
No.
penalty that you think is there. Yeah, but it would be unfair to the team who took their advantage, played on, and scored a goal. You would be double punishing them because they took their advantage that the referee gave them and scored a goal.
No, remember that all the what you call it now, the calls are at the discretion of the referee. So if it was a prayer infringement, then it goes back to the point of infringement.
All right,
So
let me
you
ask you
can
this.
allow what takes place after the infringement.
All right, let me ask you this. All right, same situation. There's a penalty call. Play on. The team turnover, they go and they attack. Somebody gets a red card. The referee decides to call it back for the penalty. Should the red card be rescinded?
I believe probably the under what circumstances
Yeah, I mean, yeah,
the
all
card
other
was given.
actions after the call is rescinded.
You
And
think
Not
it
we've
should be
seen
all.
that, and
rescinded?
we've seen
Not
that on a
all.
number of occasions.
No, not
We've seen
all.
that.
Not all. It depends. For example, if a goal is scored and a player removes his shirt and is
Right.
given the card, even if the goal review is offside, the card is not rescinded.
Mm. Well, we may need to look at a couple of rule changes there, Sir Cole, going forward,
Yeah,
because,
as I'm saying, so
you know,
the call is dependent on the specific nature of the offense that has taken place.
right. Yeah, I mean, definitely. I mean, we've seen where this could potentially lead to all sort of confusion and controversy, and as I said, riots in the stands, because depending on the sort of atmosphere and the high quality profile type game, these referees are a bit reluctant, which is what I am saying. I believe this if this was two other teams playing, VAR would have chalked off that goal and brought it back for potentially a penalty, which, I don't believe these
Well,
refs had the balls to really
if you
do that.
recall, there were two fouls close together which could have been called. After Arsenal scored, it was stated that VAR has reviewed both, and neither was deemed a penalty. So what
Yeah,
VAR is saying
I'm
is
not
that
buying that, Circle. Not at all. If
basically
that goal hadn't
what VAR
scored, they would have brought it back.
fine. Maybe what VAR is saying is that the referee did not clearly and obviously err in his
Which
no
is
call
the
of
which is
a
the get
penalty.
out of jail free card, which is the get out of jail free card. To me, if Arsenal hadn't scored on that breakaway, penalty would have been given upon review. Just my view, but as I said, oftentimes the decisions are dictated by the action which occur after. So, I mean, we can't get away from it. The discretion of the referee, it is what it is. But I mean, number of other games on display over the weekend, Sir Cole. Liverpool, you could say imploding versus West Ham, Sir Cole. That one ending 2-2, and any glimmer of a chance of any sort of title push have been easily wiped away. I mean, what's your take on that game, Sir Cole? And we also saw some fireworks on the sideline. Klopp and Salah getting into it a bit, it would appear. Darwin
Yeah,
Nunes playing peacemaker.
yeah. I'm thinking that basically Klopp is on his way out. He can now afford to um, kill the goose that lay the golden egg, so to speak. So it doesn't really have to be on good terms again with Salah, because we have seen in the past where for the indications of Salah, Mane was the one who was always a sacrifice. So now he's trying to, I mean, do something which he probably should have done from long ago, because in my opinion Salah was always the more favored. So
And it
it's
was down
all.
to management as well. I'm not sure if it's necessarily more favored, but it could possibly have to do with their personality circle. As a manager, you really have to manage personalities as well. And while uh Mane probably was a bit more modest, and you would not necessarily see any public display of dissent. Salah seemed to be a bit more emotional, a bit more forthright, and possibly with a more inflated ego, so to speak. So, personalities play a role in the management style as well. So, I mean, Klopp has done
Yeah,
a
for
tremendous
sure. But
job,
I
and
mean,
it
honestly
is what it
speaking,
is. Just a bust up.
I'd never have expected Salah to have been benched this game.
Well,
Never ever.
again, oftentimes you say we only see what goes on a Saturday or a
Which
Sunday.
is true.
We
Which
are
is
not
true.
seeing what is taking place behind the scenes. So, I mean, the manager must have seen something, which, I mean, the last couple of games, Salah have been off form since his injury. And, it's a team sport. No one player is bigger than the club. So, part of the benching may have been Klopp stamping his authority in the latter stages of his tenure as well, and setting a good example for the manager coming in next. So, even on the way out, Klopp is really leaving Liverpool lessons to learn and a standard in which to follow, really. So, it is what it is. As I said, no one player is bigger than the club. So, I mean, 2-2, we move. You know, next season, we'll see what the football gods have in store. But definitely, I mean, a disappointing way to go out, and a fractured relationship may be the end result of it all.
Yeah, definitely. I believe so. I mean, as I said, probably come summer, both maybe out. So it really doesn't matter now, because I think probably club has accepted the lack of, that they won't win the league again. So he has probably
Yeah, I mean,
shown in
from
the tone.
longer
It
time.
really doesn't matter anymore.
Yeah, I mean, from your loss to Crystal Palace and who was the last team?
Everton.
Right, Everton. Those were the two losses you couldn't afford, and so said, so done. So from those two losses, the writing was on the wall naturally. So I mean, I had called it from the draw versus Manchester United. You know, I saw the writing on the wall, but well played, good season. Try to finish out on high, but maintaining a Champions League position. And yeah, I mean, some positives to take from the season. One trophy in the bag. So, you know, not everybody wins a trophy each season. So, you know, you have to call a spade a spade. But Sir Cole,
What?
any
No,
final thoughts in
no.
terms of
I
this
just want.
weekend's result?
I just basically want to ask a question. With the departure of Klopp and possibly one or two other senior players, do we now see a Man U 2.0 loading post Ferguson?
Well, I mean, that is always a possibility. It's a matter of cycles. Teams go through cycles. I mean, currently Arsenal is on a 20-year drought from winning the Champions League. I mean, they've never won the Champions League, and they haven't won the EPL in 20 years. So every team goes through a rough patch, a cycle. It's just a matter of how long this cycle lasts. For Liverpool, it lasted 30 years. Man U is well on their way over 10 years now, and Arsenal is in their 20th anniversary. So, I mean, it is what it is. You just have to call a spade a spade. And you know, you keep playing the game, so to speak. But Christoph, any final thoughts? We're quickly running out of time.
So final thoughts. There were some interesting games over the weekend. Even though Liverpool lost the last two matches, I expected them to bounce back with a win against West Ham, but there seemed to be a sort of implosion going on at the end of Klopp's reign. We saw him fighting with Salah on the touchline. Um, Something to look into, something for future managers maybe. But it could also be where Salah might be reaching the end of his tenure at Liverpool as well, and we might see him being moved on in order to get funds for recruitment next season. Um, Man United have been bad for most of the season, and I kind of expected them to win this game on the weekend, but to see them draw with relegation side Burnley is quite shocking and quite telling of what is going on over at United. Um, we saw where Nottingham Forest had the potential to, potentially upset Man City and give them a tougher fight. Had they taken their early chances in that game, it might have been a different result, definitely a different scoreline, but so it goes. 3 match weeks remaining, and we have a potential title winner in Man City versus Tottenham. It's a case for Tottenham. Do we give Man City the win, so to speak, and not allow Arsenal to win the league, or do we push on, give Arsenal the league title, but we secure our Champions League spot? Big questions being asked for the remainder of the season. But it's going to be an interesting couple of weeks. We know Man City does have that game in hand, and even a potential, they have to win everything. Even a potential draw, if Arsenal go on to win all their remaining fixtures, means that Arsenal wins the league title and goal difference. Even though the goal difference has gone down because Man City has kicked up their gear as well. But anything aside from wins for the remainder of the season means Arsenal win the title.
Indeed, definitely 3 matches or 3 game weeks to go, but definitely a lot of football still to be played. Sir Cole, your final thoughts on the weekend's action?
It is now down to crunch time. It has moved from a 3-horse race down to a 2-horse race. So just no matter of who can maintain their nerve. I think over the last week, Everton has really done well to pick up a few wins, and believe me, I really wanted them to stay in the league, and it seems that if they will stay in the league for next season.
Indeed. So, Sir Cole, who is your call for the title at this point in time? 3 games to go.
Man City. I don't see Man City dropping points between now and the end of the season.
What says you, Christophe?
At the moment, I go with Man City. I don't see them dropping any points, and I don't see Tottenham beating them or even holding them to a draw.
Stranger things have happened, viewers and subscribers. Stranger things have happened. They say many a slip between the cup and the lip. So we'll definitely have to watch these remaining fixtures to really see how it plays out. But thanks again, Sir Cole and Christophe, for coming on board and really sharing your views and your opinions. Viewers and subscribers, thank you again for logging on to us here at Beating the Press podcast. Please continue to help us grow by sharing. And if you haven't subscribed as yet, hit that subscription bell. But until next time, this is Rafa signing off.